Welcome to TechDaily.ai. This deep dive is sponsored by StoneFly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup disaster recovery, hyper-converged VMware, Hyper-V, Proxmox cluster, AI servers, SA365, a turnkey security appliance, public and private cloud. Check out stonefly.com for more info.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're diving deep into Sony's latest camera announcement, the brand new FX2.
That's right. It's the newest kid on the block in Sony's cinema line. Sits alongside the FX9, FX6, FX3.
The whole family. So our mission today really is to get our heads around what this camera is. Like, what are its key features? And crucially, where does it actually fit, in Sony's strategy in the market, based on what we know so far?
And I think the core concept, the main thing to grasp is that Sony's essentially taken a very familiar heart. It's the 3 megapixel full-frame sensor from the A7 IV.
Ah, okay. The one loads of people are already using, that workhorse sensor.
Exactly that one. And they've paired it up with their BIONZ XR processor, which is pretty powerful.
But, and this is the key bit, they put that combo into a body that physically looks and feels a lot like the FX3 and the FX30. They're more Sanaf-focused bodies.
Okay, so they've taken the engine from a really solid hybrid camera, stills and video, and dropped it into the chassis, basically, of a cinema camera.
Pretty much, yeah.
That blend right there, it suggests this thing is built for serious video, definitely. But maybe with, better stills chops than you'd normally expect from a body like that.
Exactly. It screams hybrid shooter, someone doing both seriously.
Right. Okay, let's get into the video guts then. That 33 megapixel full-frame sensor.
Yeah.
What does it do for video?
So you get oversampled 4K. It actually captures from a 7K area of the sensor.
Wow.
When you're shooting up to 30p using the full width of the sensor.
But that oversampling usually means super clean, detailed 4K. Right. Which is awesome.
Yeah, typically very nice results. But there's a point about higher frame rates, a key difference here.
Okay, what's the deal there?
If you want 4K 60p, which, lots of people do for smooth motion or slow-mo. Yeah.
The camera has to do an S35 crop, so APS-C crop.
Ah, okay. So your lens suddenly looks that's a trade-off. How does that compare to, say, the FX3?
Well, FX3, remember, has that 12 megapixel sensor, lower resolution.
Right.
So it can actually do 4K up to 120p using the full frame, because the sensor's readout is faster, less data.
Okay.
But the flip side is the FX3 can't do 4K from an S35 crop at all, because it doesn't have enough pixels there. The FX2 can do 4K 60p from that S35 crop.
I see.
And the FX2 also does full HD, 1080p at 120 frames per second. So, options. But definitely a sensor resolution versus high frame choice between the two.
Got it. So it depends if full frame 4K HFR is your absolute must-have, or if you want higher res stills and video generally and are okay with a crop for 60p. Makes sense. What about the color and depth, the recording options?
You're getting 4.2.2 10-bit internal recording pretty much across the board, which is solid for grading.
Good baseline. And importantly, it includes S-Log profiles, like S-Log3 for max dynamic range, plus Sony's S-Tone picture profile for that nice, ready-to-go cinematic look.
Right, S-Tone's popular.
And here's a really interesting little detail. You can actually shoot stills using S-Log or S-Tone.
Log for stills. That sounds useful for matching things up.
Exactly. If you're doing a hybrid shoot, video and photos, getting that consistency and the base look for color grading could be a real workflow time saver.
Yeah, I can see that. What about external recording? Any raw options?
Yep. You can output 16-bit RAW video over the HDMI port, which, by the way, is a full-size Type A, blessedly.
Well, thank goodness. No fragile micro HDMI.
Right. And the specs say that RAW output is specifically 4.7K, but only from the APS-C, the S35 cropped area.
Only APS-C for RAW. Any idea why? Processing limit.
Probably.
Yeah.
The sources don't spell it out, but pushing that much raw data from a 33MP full-frame sensor constantly is a huge ask. It's likely a processing or heat limitation. Still, having 4.7K APS-C RAW is, that's a powerful option for jobs that need it.
Definitely. Okay, low light, dynamic range.
It's got Sony's dual-gain sensor architecture. So for S-Log shooting, you get 2 base ISOs, 800 and 4000.
Right, helps keep noise down at higher sensitivities.
Exactly. And Sony's claiming 15 stops of dynamic range, which, if accurate, is pretty darn good for holding detail in shadows and highlights.
Sony's AF is usually top-notch. What have they put in this one?
It gets their latest AI-based real-time recognition AF, uses a dedicated AI processing unit.
Okay, so it's smart. What can it track?
The usual suspects: humans, animals, birds. but also insects, cars, trains, and airplanes. Pretty comprehensive list.
Wow, okay. That's getting really specific. Trains and planes, huh? Any other AI features?
There's an AI auto-framing feature, too. It tries to keep your subject centered automatically, like a virtual camera operator.
Interesting.
You need to know, though, that enabling that feature does mean you take a bit of a crop on the image.
Right. Trade-offs again.
Right.
And stabilization, keeping things steady.
It's got 5-axis in-body image stabilization, IBS. The sensor physically moves. Offers different modes, standard, active, and dynamic active.
How much correction?
Sony says up to 5 stops, which is decent. But another little note, the strongest mode, dynamic active, also involves a crop.
Okay, so max stability, 4K 60p, AI framing, all potentially mean a tighter shot. Good to know. Now, with all this processing, especially that oversampled 4K, heat must be a concern.
Absolutely, and they've addressed that directly. It has a built-in fan for active cooling.
Like the bigger scene cameras.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Borrowed from the higher end, it's designed to let you record for much longer periods without overheating, even when you're really pushing it.
That's crucial for reliability. Okay, let's talk about the body itself. You said it's like the FX3.
Yeah, uses that FX3 design language, which people seem to really like. Cage-free, comfortable, got the big record button, the dedicated movie still switch.
Video-focused menu system too, I assume.
Yeah.
Shutter angle.
Yep. Video menus, shutter angle control, all that stuff video shooters expect. And it has built-in mounting points. 3/4 20 threads, 1 M3.
Slightly different from the FX3 then. Thought that had more.
It did, yeah. FX3 has 4/4 20s. So, small change there. But, like we said, full-size HDMI.
Yes. Worth repeating. But hang on, there's one really obvious physical difference here, isn't there? Something the FX3 definitely doesn't have.
Yes. The big one. The tilting EVF.
Exactly. Tell us about that.
So it's got a proper electronic viewfinder, 3.68 million dots, and the cool part is it tilts upwards, up to 90 degrees.
That's really unusual for this kind of camera, right? Compact sign or hybrid?
Hugely unusual. You just don't see tilting EVFs often in this category.
And why is that such a big deal? What's the practical benefit?
Ergonomics, mainly. Massive ergonomic win. Think about shooting low-angle shots, like from your waist, or high-angle over people's heads.
Right. Awkward with just a back screen sometimes.
Exactly. With the tilting EVF, you can get your eye up to it comfortably, brace the camera better. It's also great for people coming from bigger cameras like the FX6 that do have viewfinders. They prefer that way of working.
So it adds flexibility in how you shoot, how you compose. Makes sense. What about the rear screen? It's still there, right? Fully articulating.
Yep, fully articulating rear screen, 3.0 inches. The resolution mentioned is 1.04 million dots.
Okay. I thought I saw maybe the FX3 or FX30 screens were higher res.
Yeah, some specs suggest that. It's a little curious, maybe, that the FX2 screen is listed at 1.04 M dots, but that's the number provided for this model.
Right. Audio. Sony's been pushing 32-bit float lately.
Yes, and the FX2 supports it, likely through the optional XLR handle accessory. That's usually how it works.
And the benefit of 32-bit float, again, is?
Basically no clipping. You record such a massive dynamic range for the audio that even if something gets unexpectedly loud, you can almost always recover it in post without distortion. Huge peace of mind, especially for solo shooters.
Yeah. Less worry about setting levels perfectly in unpredictable situations. Makes sense. Any other neat physical touches?
It's got tally lights built in, front and back usually. Super handy on set.
Oh yeah, knowing when you're actually rolling.
Definitely. And it supports anamorphic D-squeeze in the monitor. So if you're shooting with 1.33x or 2x anamorphic lenses, you can see the proper image preview.
Nice little pro features.
Okay.
Okay, so it's clearly packed with video stuff. But you said earlier it leans into stills more than maybe other cinema line cameras.
Yeah, Sony seems to be making a point of that. Unlike some SimCams where stills feel like an afterthought, they're actively highlighting the FX2's photo capabilities.
And that 33MP sensor is already known for stills from the A7 IV, right?
Exactly. It's a proven performer, gives you loads of resolution for cropping, for prints. It's a proper still sensor.
And have they added specific features for still shooters beyond just the sensor?
They have, like we mentioned, shooting stills in log or S-sign tone for workflow consistency. Also, the ability to snap photos while you're recording video.
Oh, my handy.
And maybe most significantly for photographers, it has a mechanical shutter.
Unlike the FX3.
Right. The FX3 is electronal shutter only. The mechanical shutter helps massively with avoiding rolling shutter distortion in stills, especially with fast movement, and gives you better flash sync options. It's a big deal for serious stills work.
So it really is trying to be a true hybrid in a SIN body. Where does this actually place it in Sony's lineup then? It sounds like it's carving out its own space.
I think sweet spot is a good word for it. It's full frame, unlike the APS-C FX30s, so you get that look, the low light benefit.
Right.
But it has way more megapixels than the 12MP FX3, making it much stronger for stills.
Hmm.
Yet it borrows that FX3 body and a lot of the SIN features. It really does slot right in between them.
So it's not just like sticking the A7 IV sensor in an FX3 shell. It's more thought out.
I think so, yeah. The body itself brings advantages like the cooling, the ergonomics, then add that unique tilting EVF, the focus on 32-bit audio, the mechanical shutter. It combines elements to create something distinct, not just a simple mashup.
Feels like Sony's strategy is about refining, maybe modularity, expanding options within that cinema line ecosystem.
Seems like it. Targeting those creators who really do need strong performance in both video and stills and want it in a compact video-first style body. And they're aiming for consistency, too.
Consistency? How so?
You know, consistent color science across the cinema line, similar user interfaces, reliability. So if you use an FX6 on one shoot and FX2 on another, the footage matches easily, the controls feel familiar, makes life easier.
Okay, let's quickly bullet point the key differences again, just for clarity.
Yeah.
FX2 versus FX3.
Okay, FX2. High-res sensor, 33MP versus 12MP. Has the tilting EVF. Has a mechanical shutter. FX3. Does 4K up to 120p full frame. FX2 does 4K 60p with S35 crop. Has two CF Express type ASD slots. FX2 has one CFE ASD plus one SD. Slightly different stabilization claims. FX2 is a touch lighter.
Got it. And FX2 versus the FX30.
Biggest one. Full frame FX2 versus APS-C FX30. FX2 higher overall MP, 33 versus 26. Different high frame rate options. FX2 has the EVF, mechanical shutter, and that AI AF unit, which the FX30 lacks. Different LCD specs too, some variation in stab modes.
So yeah, definitely fills a specific gap, makes some different choices. What impact could this have on the market, do you think?
Well, it certainly strengthens Sony's hand, especially with that solo operator, run-and-gun filmmaker crowd who need versatility, pushing things like 32-bit float audio further into the mainstream.
And that tilting EVF could pressure others on ergonomics.
Absolutely. It sets a new bar for what a hybrid in this form factor can offer.
Could it? I don't know. Eat into FX3 sales.
Yeah.
Cannibalize its own sibling.
It's definitely possible. I mean, you look at the price point, the added EVF, the mechanical shutter. Some people might choose the FX2 over the FX3 now.
Right.
The material suggests Sony probably expects this, maybe even sees it as the next step. Could potentially lead to the FX3 getting a price drop down the line. Who knows?
It's wild to think films like The Creator were shot on the FX3. Show how capable these small bodies already are.
Exactly. It proves you can get seriously high-end results from these compact cinema line cameras. The FX2 just adds another flavor, another set of capabilities to that potent mix.
All right, brass tacks. Availability and price. When can people get one?
Expected to ship starting in August, so pretty soon.
And the damage, how much are we talking?
Okay, body only. $2,699.99 US dollars.
$2,700, okay.
And if you want it bundled with that XLR audio handle, it's $3,099.99 US dollars.
$3,100.
Right.
How does that compare?
Well, context is key here. The FX3 body is currently around $3,900, significantly more.
Wow.
And the A7 IV body sharing the sensors around $2,500. So the FX2 is priced much closer to the A7 IV, but gives you that dedicated video body, the fan, the EVF, 32-bit float support, all for way less than the FX3, even though the FX3 still wins on, say, full frame by frame rates.
Yeah, that pricing feels aggressive. Positioned very deliberately below the FX3 while offering features it lacks. Calculator.
Absolutely. It seems laser focused on grabbing people who maybe wanted the A7 IV stills but need a better video platform, or wanted the FX3's body but needed higher res stills, or couldn't quite stretch to the FX3's price.
Which kind of leads us to a final thought, doesn't it? This FX2 feels custom built for that hybrid creator, someone needing top-tier stills and video in a video body with that unique ergonomic touch of the tilting EVF.
So the question is, does adding such photographer-friendly features, the mechanical shutter, log for stills, the high MP count into the cinema line, signal a bigger shift? Is Sony acknowledging that the lines are blurring, that hybrid is becoming the standard expectation?
Or is it just a really clever move? Optimizing existing tech, that proven A7 IV sensor, repackaging it perfectly for a specific growing market niche, accepting compromises like the 4K 60p crops to hit that compelling price and feature balance. What does it tell us about their broader strategy?
Something to definitely chew on as you look at where Sony might go next.
Indeed. And that wraps up this deep dive into the Sony FX2. Before we go, a quick word from our sponsor, StoneFly. Did you know StoneFly offers a 100 TB immutable and air-gapped SSO NAS for just $8,995? Find out more at StoneFly.com.